All right.
So we just got finished powering through the first two episodes of X-Men 97. Um, well, first of all, what did you think? I'll let you go first. What did you think about, you can just compile all your thoughts into, it doesn't matter, episode one, episode two, you can compile them all together. What did you think about the episodes?
Yeah, so I think watching this a second time around and then obviously reacting to your reaction, I took some notes and things that I noticed second time around.
Mhm.
But the ending of episode two with Jean Grey,
Right,
Madeline Pryor,
right.
who knows if you know comics, you're like, hold up, who's that?
Hmm.
So that leads down the rabbit hole of my assumption of Mr. Sinister, if you know the storyline. So that is going to go down that rabbit hole. And I think that also, those question marks are going to come around about like, wait, is she a clone? Who's the real one?
Right,
Right.
right.
And then, um, and then also with Storm, with her genes or mutagens or whatever you want to call her power set having been taken away,
Hmm.
she may have to go down that rabbit hole of Mr. Sinister as well because he is a scientist, right? And he may try and help out and maybe not. We'll see, I guess. And
Yeah, yeah.
that's where I think things will connect over to Mr. Sinister, in my opinion.
Mm. Well, I think just by, I mean, they gave away a lot of things away. I won't say spoilers, but there's been backdoor spoilers for the seasons through like other media, like whether it be toys, whether it be like, at Comic Cons where, you see voice actors talking about the characters that they're playing. And so I do know that Mr. Sinister is supposed to be an overarching villain of the show. So, like you said, being a comic book fan, we know what happens in the comics. And so my theory going into the show was like I saw in the toys and like other media that Madeline Pryor would be a character in the show. And so in the comics, we know that Madeline is the one who actually gave birth to Cable. Or was it Rachel, or was it yeah, I think, yeah, Madeline was the one that gave birth to Cable, and of course, Cable went into the future and because
Yes,
of the techno
yes,
organic virus. So my thing going into the show is I'm like, okay, maybe the gene that we've been seeing in the trailer is actually Madeline, and maybe the real gene was kidnapped by Mr. Sinister off screen, somewhere between the end of the original show and now. And
right.
so the gene that we've seen in the trailers with the being pregnant and everything is actually Madeline Pryor. And of
Mm.
course, we saw at the end of episode two that, like you said, Jean, we're gonna just use this as the
Yes,
quotation mark for Jean, shows up at the door. So I'm like, wow, if that's how they're gonna do it. But man, overall, it was just so many things, so many question marks. First of all, the episodes were fire. I mean, just the way they used their powers, the teamwork, everything that we loved about the original animated series. Where I don't know, I always thought like the little details in the story of these characters in the animation. I like the way, every time that they would get into some type of action with it, whatever, even though they would be, arguing, or they would have their difference of opinions, or they would, be at odds with each other. When it was time to come together and get into like, you know, and they were in the heat of things in a battle or whatever, they would always look out for each other. They would always, if some person, like for example, we saw in the episode where the Blackbird is destroyed or whatever, and they were all falling supposedly to their death. Each X-Men would actually look after the other.
yeah.
Like the X-Men that can fly would, help the other X-Man, or whoever's fallen, whoever's in trouble. They would always come to each other's aid. So I like that little detail that they carried over from the original animated series. Just the use of their powers, uh, the teamwork that they displayed. Cyclops, when he did that epic move where he free fell to the ground, then he used his powers to kind of like soften his fall. That was just like epic.
Hmm.
And I was saying, I was like, man, why couldn't they use that in the movies, man? Why couldn't we see stuff
Right.
like that in, the Foxmen? I call them the Foxmen.
Yeah.
Um, and also with with Rogue and Magneto? What's up with that? I mean, in the comics, we know they had a relationship, but did I miss something in the original animated series? Did they even tease that they had some type of relationship, or was they mentioning like this happened before that? I don't know. I don't know. What did you get from that? I didn't.
So I'm scratching my head on that one, to be honest with you. That's like a spot where I'm trying to figure out like what happened. I'm
Yeah.
sure they're gonna elaborate and explain things in terms of like the time lapse of from the 90s till obviously where they're at now. But
Right.
going back to what you're saying about like the teamwork parts, like they're all battle tested. So they have so much experience now that would they know what they're capable of, and like you saw Rogue and Storm immediately know who to pick up when they were falling from the explosion of the
Right.
jet. And then you saw the Cyclops just chilling. He was like, "All right, y'all good? All right,
Yeah.
I'll see you in a minute."
Uh, mhm.
So, it's cool that they just know like each other well enough to know who's being taken care of and who's got each other's back and everybody's good. So,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it's cool, man. I just love how straightforward they are to it. They're not like uh beating around the bush and
Right.
just adding filler to it. They're going straight in. Like for
Yeah.
us, this is picking up for us, our generation, I think, and they're not
Where it
like
left off in the 90s.
they're not slowing anything down. So like for people that are newer, you got to catch up. You're gonna have to watch
Right.
the
Right.
90s version and catch up to this because
Yeah.
every second counts and they're not playing. I love it.
What did you think about, like I said, I was just so excited. I totally just left my mind to actually take notes so I can go back. But what did you think about um how deep it was? They didn't slight on the deepness of it. Like there was a lot of one-liners. Did you get a chance to take any of the one-liners down, like that Magneto was saying, like the introspective things that he was saying about, what he's trying to do? It kind of really makes you think that he's not wrong. I mean, he's actually right. You kind of like, it's that gray area where you don't actually, you can't really vilify him because he's actually speaking the truth. It's kind of, and
Right.
those are the best villains where, they actually speak some truth into what they're doing. They believe they're doing the right thing, and
Yeah.
he just had a lot of great lines where like, yeah, he's right. He's got a point.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, this is like second time watching it now. It's like I'm able to kind of deep dive a little more in the details, like you were saying.
Mhm.
Like Magneto and Professor X for a long time, we know is like Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, right? So it's like that balance of the lighter and the darker side of perspectives of issues.
Right.
And I think in this case, it seems like Magneto is like I don't know how to put it, but like a somebody who came out of prison in a way, but is like seeing things in a different light and trying to be a better person.
Right.
And he's still struggling, when he sees like the protesters, the Friends of Humanity,
Mhm.
in this case, came off like in a modern time setting of current issues today,
Yeah.
like insurrection. If you think about it, it's
Mhm.
like they're coming at it and with a lot of hate and some ignorance, and then you see somebody who's like Magneto who is trying to
Trying to do
change
the
their
right.
ways.
Right. Mhm.
Exactly. And he's struggling a little bit of reverting back to his old self.
Right.
And it's like that character development, which is super cool to see.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't know about you, but I don't know. When he took him up into space, did you think he was gonna release that bubble and have them? I was like, oh, okay. Is he gonna
oh
do
yeah.
what?
Yeah, he was about to I initially I was thinking, I was like, oh man, he's lost it now. You snapped,
Yeah.
man. We're about to see something uh, diabolical. I don't
Yeah.
know.
We're about to see iron, pulse out of their bodies and all this type of stuff. See, that's what makes a great villain. You don't know what they're gonna do. You don't know
Right.
how far they're gonna go. And I admit, I was like, oh, okay, this is a short redemptive arc. I mean, I know he's trying to do the right thing, but is he gonna actually cut loose? Is he gonna destroy him? And so
Right.
when he said that, when he had his foot over the executioner's face, he said, back in the day, I would have, smashed you underneath my heel, but not today. Today, I'm going to let you live. Something to that effect or whatever.
Mm.
I thought that was kind of deep. That whole speech, was just deep in what he was saying. And man, it's just deep. But moving on from that, this is the last thing I wanted to ask you. Well, two more things I wanted to ask you. What did you think about? There was a lot of controversy about the voice acting, and like first of all, a lot of the original actors came back to reprise their role, and some of the original actors who did their roles in the original series did different roles in this series. And at first I was kind of scratching my head, but then I was looking at a YouTuber who had mentioned that, well, sometimes their voices, it's been almost 30 years since they've done their roles. So sometimes the
Yeah.
inflection in their voice might change. And so the
Mm,
producers might, they still wanted them to be a part of the show, but they opted for them to do different voices because their voice might not serve that character like it did in the 90s. And so
mm,
in hindsight, and actually hearing the voices and listening to the characters, I can understand that. Like Lenore Zan, her voice didn't really change too much. The voice of Rogue, I
mm.
can hear that inflection. It didn't really change too much. Cal Dodd as Wolverine, and his voice didn't. I mean, you can tell it aged a little bit, but
Right.
for a character like Wolverine, that kind of works in his best interest because he's like what 200 years old or something like that.
Yep.
Um, so I can hear the differences in the voice, and I can tell that they've aged a little bit. Um, Allison Seeley Smith, she does the voice of Storm. Her
Mm,
voice was perfect. I mean, she just her voice, it sounded, I was kind of worried, in the trailer because it
right.
sounded a little different, but actually seeing it in action, her voice was just perfect. It's almost like it didn't change a beat. Um,
Right.
I don't know if you noticed, but the character that played Valerie Cooper, the government liaison,
Mm.
she that is the actual original voice of Jean Grey.
Oh,
Yeah, her name is
really?
Catherine Disher. Yeah, she did the actual voice of the Jean Grey in the 90s series.
Oh,
So
wow. I didn't know
um
that.
I can tell her voice aged it sounds a little different. So I can see why they had her do another character in this show. Um and it's interesting that they got the actress who did Jean Grey in Wolverine and the X-Men to do the Jean Grey in this show. So
Mm.
that's kind of interesting that they kind of, kept it in the family, kind of thing.
Right. Right.
So I thought that was kind of interesting. And also I know the actor who played Gambit in the original show, he's not voicing well, there were two actors who did Gambit in the original show.
I know the son. So I'm so bad with names, but I know. Do you remember the old show Kung Fu,
Yeah, yeah.
like with David Carradine?
David Carradine, yeah,
So that the character who plays his son, he was the voice of Gambit. Forgetting his
yeah.
name, but yeah, because I remember seeing like the anniversary, of X-Men and all that stuff, and I was like, oh, it's I forget his name. I'm
Mhm.
terrible at names
Is
remembering,
it
but
Tony Daniel? Uh,
I wouldn't be able to say,
okay,
unfortunately.
okay,
I'm so bad with names.
okay.
That's one of my weaknesses. But
Mm.
yeah, but like in my opinion, my favorite voice, and this is not just about the character, but like Hank McCoy, the actor,
Oh yeah,
who plays
yeah.
the voice for him. Oh, I
Spot
just
on.
love it. Every scene and his little cliches before he does something cool.
Yeah, yeah.
When he just like went into the Sentinel and just like a little bit
Started
of like
his
a
speech.
little,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
a little line in there starting his beast,
His
Hank McCoy
philosophy, beast
stuff. Yep.
philosophy. Yeah, what do you call it? Beast colloquialisms or whatever. Yeah.
Oh
That's
yeah.
perfect. That's
I
perfect.
love it. Those one-liners are everything for me, man. I appreciate them. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, man.
The last thing I wanted to ask you, what are you looking forward to uh for the season? Well, let me go first. I'm gonna tell you what I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to of course, Mr. Sinister. And like I said, what I've seen in the comics and what I know about the Madeline Pryor and the Goblin Queen and everything, I'm hoping that they do that storyline where they do the Inferno storyline. So I don't know if they're going to go that deep with it. I think, like the original show, they touched on certain things and they altered certain things, but kept the theme of the actual storylines that Chris Claremont wrote in the 80s and things like that. So I don't, like I said, I don't know how deep they're going to go with it, but I hope they touch on the Inferno storyline and the jealousy of and that character arc of Madeline Pryor being jealous of because if you know the comics, when Jean came back, Cyclops dropped Madeline Pryor like a bad habit. And
Yeah.
and so that's what kind of turned her,
A little
into
more
the
evil.
Goblin Queen. So hey, look, this is not
Yeah.
spoilers to you guys out there. This is just like in the comics. I don't know if this is gonna happen in this season, but it would be nice to see that if it does. Man, like I said, also just I'm just looking for more deepness. I liked how heavy the episodes were. They didn't really shy away from, pregnancy. They actually showed, Jean in labor.
Mhm.
That was like interesting. And as I was watching it, I was like, man, this is definitely on streaming because, back in the day, there were certain things that you could and you could not get away with on Saturday mornings.
Mm,
And the things that they did get away with, it's amazing that they were able to push the envelope as much as they did. But now that it's on streaming, you can do so much more, and because they had a shot where Wolverine was taking a drink. You couldn't do
yeah.
that Saturday morning, but
Mm,
they did that
right.
here. So
Right.
anyway, I'm looking forward to more drama. I'm looking forward to more action. I'm looking forward just the X-Men being back. Nightcrawler, I can't wait to see Nightcrawler. I can't wait to see any other cameos. That was cool to see Morph transform, do those cameos into Psylocke and Colossus and things like that. So what are you looking forward to, moving forward in the season?
Yeah, exactly. I was just about to say more like the callbacks of all the different characters from, the world of X-Men. I'm waiting for a lot of more crossovers from other universes teaming up, but I personally, my man Bishop, right?
Bishop, yeah,
Yeah, he didn't get much shine in this, but it's understandable because in order for stories, specific episodes to kind of move forward, you don't want to take away the shine
right,
of characters in specific episodes.
right.
So I'm sure that they're going to eventually show that. But him crossing paths with like Cable somehow and time traveling somehow in there.
Yeah,
Nimrod, the
right.
cyborg, along with even Mojo World, like maybe seeing Longshot again.
Mm,
Um, and just seeing a lot more other characters. I'm definitely going to look forward to seeing how they're going to eventually maybe sprinkle in Apocalypse, and because if you remember Cortez on asteroid M,
right.
he was one of the people that turned his back on him. So
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then Apocalypse took over his body, right? So from what I
Yeah,
remember.
yeah, yeah. That was kind
So
of
we'll
lame
see.
though. I didn't like that. I didn't
Yeah.
like that ending with Apocalypse taking over Cortez. But hey, whatever.
Oh yeah.
Worked out.
Yeah, it was a dot dot dot. But yeah,
Yeah,
we'll
yeah,
see. We'll see. Yes, sir.
yeah. My
So
last thing is, I would like to see the backstory of how Bishop came to join the team. I know you said that's good that they shouldn't like start off focusing on that. Hopefully they get into it later on. But I would like to see how he came about actually joining the team. Like
right.
maybe a flashback or some type of exposition,
Yeah, 100%. I'm waiting for that theme. You know that Bishop theme? Like every character, some characters have their own little mini theme. It's like that
Yeah, yeah,
Western music thing.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, for me personally, I'm looking forward to just more focus on him and even dang it, what's his name? In the future. I'm already
Cable.
forgetting it. No, not Cable. He's able to create cybernetics and whatnot.
Oh, Forge. Forge.
Forge, yeah, that's
Forge.
right. I
Yeah,
forgot
yeah.
his name. But yeah, seeing him as well. But there's so many episodes. I hope that they just go all out now, man. I can't wait 2 more episodes
I know.
again
Yeah,
every
I know.
week. Come on, man. We've been
Yeah,
waiting
yeah,
years for this.
yeah. I think how many? I think it's like what 10 episodes this season, or is it 10 or 13? I'm not certain.
Not
I think it's
sure.
gonna be. I think it's gonna be either 10 or 13 episodes. Yeah, 13 actually. I think it's
I
gonna be
hope it's 13.
13
The more,
episodes this season. Yeah.
the more, the better.
Yeah, because I remember they were saying something about this will be the longest Disney Plus episode run that they've had since they started, Disney Plus, as
Mm,
far as like the shows or whatever. So,
okay.
man, so yeah, so two X-Men 97s in the can. Um, I'm trying to think if I'm gonna do a reaction every week. I might just react to these, and then at the end, I'll just do like what do you call it? A recap of the
A
entire
recap.
season and
Okay.
and go from there.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. So yeah, tell the folks, where can we find you? Where can people find you online, or what are you doing next? What you got going? And I really enjoyed, you watching this with me. And yeah, what you got going next?
Yeah, thanks for having me. My cheeks hurt from smiling and kind of, just seeing your reaction. But yeah, you can find me on Instagram at TBiz 158. I'm a big nerd 24/7. That's my hashtag up top. And I love everything nerd culture related, science fiction, movies, martial arts, all that stuff. So
Cool.
happy to be on here and appreciate letting me chat with you as well.
No problem, man. No problem. And of course, you guys know that you can find me on all of the interwebs, just at Gouache Universe. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this reaction of X-Men 97. And right now I'm actually trying to, it's in the early stages, but I'm trying to get a toy line going with my actual comic. So of course I have a comic out. It's called The Native Quest. It's on Amazon right now. Plug plug. You can pick it up. It's only the best thing ever. But yeah, I'm trying to get my characters, into other media, video games, and this toy line that I'm really trying to work on right now. And fingers crossed, hopefully things go well with that. Plus, I'm doing more illustrations with the Native Quest universe and different characters and creations and things like that. Of course, inspired by a lot of the X-Men stuff or whatever. But yeah, so you can find me on all the interwebs just at Gouache Universe. And until next time, I'll see you in the universe.